Welcome to Understanding the Chain of Transmission. This brief information session was prepared by your Niagara IPAC champions and intended for MCC SS agencies providing congregate care. It will provide a quick overview on the 6 links in the chain of transmission.
To help us understand how infections spread, we need to understand how the chain of transmission works. The model is used to help us understand how infections are spread and how they can be prevented. Each link in the chain represents a part of the process that can lead to an infection. An infection cannot develop unless all 6 of the links in the chain are present and connected. However, the links in the chain can be broken to help prevent the transmission of infections. This is where you come in. You can break those chain links by understanding the chain and identifying what you can do to break the chain. Today we will look at understanding the chain of transmission.
For any infection to occur, there must be an infectious agent present. This is the first link in the chain of transmission. People get sick when an organism, big or small, enters their body and infects them. Infectious agents may be a bacterium, such as Salmonella in the food that you might eat, a virus like COVID-19 or influenza, fungi like trichophyton, which is what causes athlete's foot, or even a parasite, such as pinworms.
The second link in the chain of transmission is the reservoir. A reservoir is simply where the infectious agent can live and grow. A reservoir can be people, animals, insects, water, or food. Food can be a reservoir for an infectious agent that can lead to an individual getting food poisoning if they consume that contaminated food. For those of you who have pet turtles, snakes, or maybe you raise chickens, these animals can also be reservoirs for bacteria such as Salmonella. Water can serve as a reservoir for bacteria such as E. coli or parasites such as Giardia, which leads to diarrheal disease. And of course, people can be reservoirs. We humans carry many diseases, including sexually transmitted infections, measles, mumps, many respiratory diseases, and much more.
The portal of exit is how the infectious agent leaves the reservoir. Ports of exit from the human body can include blood, secretions like saliva or even your tears, excretions of waste from your body, such as vomiting or urine, and our skin. A wound on our skin can leak or drain, which allows infection to exit. Some examples of portals of exits in humans could be a cough or a sneeze. If someone has a respiratory infection, the cough or sneeze is the port of exit, or how the droplets containing the virus leaves the body. Another example is a cut in your skin. If someone has a blood-borne infection, the cut becomes a port of exit, or how the infected blood leaves the body. Contact with skin lesions. This is a portal of exit for someone who may be suffering from a skin disease, such as scabies, or maybe it's fluid leaking from a chickenpox blister that burst. And a very common port of exit is feces. Working with children or providing personal care for someone who requires assistance puts you at greater risk. Feces excreted from a person who is ill is a port of exit for various diseases, such as the norovirus.
The mode of transmission is how an infectious agent moves from one place to another. This can happen directly, such as direct skin-to-skin contact with someone you support who may have an infection like impetigo or ringworm, or direct transmission by droplet, like someone transmitting the common cold or flu virus by coughing or sneezing. Droplets are considered direct because the transmission is by direct spray over a short distance and the droplets fall quickly onto the person or surface. Infectious agents can also be transmitted indirectly, such as through the air or airborne droplets, and even dust particles containing an infectious agent. Microorganisms carried in this manner remain in the air for longer periods of time and travel over a greater distance, therefore increasing the risk of spread. COVID-19 is an example of an airborne virus, as well as rubella, measles, or the virus that causes chickenpox or shingles. Vector-borne transmission happens when a blood-feeding arthropod, such as mosquitoes, bites you and transmits the West Nile virus, or a tick that bites you and transmits the Lyme disease causing bacteria. Lastly, infectious microorganisms can also travel through common vehicles such as contaminated food and water, and even medical devices or equipment. Parasites and bacteria can transmit in food that you prepare improperly, for example, if you don't follow safe food practices. Diaper changing stations not disinfected thoroughly, swallowing water in an untreated swimming pool, or even as simple as not following proper cleaning protocols on equipment such as a person's lifting device or feeding tube. Working so closely with children and adults puts you and them at a higher risk of transmission, so being aware of the various ways that infectious agents can travel is very important.
Portal of entry simply means the way or how the infectious agent enters a new host. Pathogens enter the body in many ways. You can inhale a pathogen into your respiratory tract through the nose, mouth, or lungs. One person sneezes or coughs, and another person nearby inhales the organism. You can ingest pathogens through your gastrointestinal tract, such as eating vegetables that may be contaminated with E. coli. Another portal of entry is through absorption. Infected droplets from a cough can enter the membrane in your eyes and are absorbed. Needle stick injuries can also be a point of entry. If you're associated with or care for an injection drug user, or you provide support to people who require frequent injections like insulin for diabetes, you are at risk of a needle stick injury, which can become a port of entry. And lastly, a break in your skin, such as a scrape or a cut, or even cracks in the dry skin on your hands, or being bitten by someone that you are supporting, can all become ports of entry for infectious agents to enter your body.
All of us can be at risk of becoming a host to an infectious agent. However, there are some who are at a higher risk than others. Take a minute and think about your family, your circle of friends, and of course the children and adults that you provide support to. If you work with any of the following people, be aware that they are more susceptible and at higher risk: young children, the elderly, people who are chronically ill, people receiving medical therapy such as chemotherapy or high doses of steroids, people who are already sick with a cold or other virus that has a compromised immune system, people with open wounds, and people who are not vaccinated. It is also important to remember that people with healthy immune systems can still become a carrier without symptoms and be the mode of transmission or carry that infection to another susceptible host. Once the new host is infected, they may then become a reservoir for future transmission of the disease, and so it goes on from host to host.
I hope this information helps you to stop and think about the chain of transmission and how much it applies to you in your everyday work. Part 2 of this topic will be an activity that looks at some typical work scenarios that you face every day and identify ways that you can break the chain of transmission and stop the spread of infection. So stay tuned.